Welcome back to the channel from Central America. I'm very happy to be with you from Costa Rica to begin a series of videos here, starting in the capital, San Jose. Costa Rica is a small country of about 5 million people, bordered by Nicaragua to the north and Panama to the south, with the Pacific Ocean to the west and the Caribbean Sea to the east. Despite its small size, it's one of the most biologically diverse nations on Earth. This country has mountains, volcanoes, rainforests, cloud forests, mangrove swamps. Even the beaches vary greatly if you compare the Pacific side to the Caribbean side. San Jose is not only the capital, but the country's major urban center. About 350,000 people live in the city itself, with about 2 million in the greater metro area. If you're familiar with Costa Rica, you probably realize that it's a very popular destination for both vacationers and expats, especially those from North America. But San Jose, relatively speaking, is an afterthought to many of the people who land here and head out to enjoy the country's mountains, beaches, and rainforests. As a result, I think the city suffers a bit by comparison. While it's not a huge tourist magnet compared to the country's many natural wonders, it is overwhelmingly the center of Costa Rican culture, economics, education, and politics. It's also a very clean and pleasant city with a lot of street energy and well-developed public transportation, mostly buses, that make it both easy and cheap to get around here. The atmosphere on the streets here generally is almost what you would call a carnival atmosphere. It's noisy by virtue of the variety of musicians who are on practically every block. The principal streets are almost all walking streets, so the entire downtown of San Jose is extremely accessible by foot. In fact, it's the only way to enjoy it.
Vaya, tómese foto.
So lots of fun, church bells and all, and a gorilla. When you think of Latin American capitals, you think of centuries-old cities that were originally colonial capitals under the Spanish crown. But in Costa Rica, things were different. The original colonial capital, starting in 1563, was the city of Cartago, about 20 kilometers to the east of here. San Jose became the capital in 1821, after independence. The building you see here is the National Theater, considered to be the finest historic building in the city. It was built in the 1890s, and the population was barely 19,000 people. This ornate gilded building is home to the National Symphony and is a hub for the fine arts, with music and cultural performances held here several times a week. Given the small size of San Jose at the time that this beautiful building was constructed, you can imagine it was very much an eye-popper. So how could that happen? A new capital with only 19,000 people builds a wonderful theater symphony hall. Well, the first president of Costa Rica did something very unusual at the time. In order to build it, he taxed coffee producers. Of course, At that time, coffee was the overwhelming, most important export. By European standards, this theater is relatively small. It has a seating capacity for performances of about 1,000 people. It's more or less like a miniature grand palace with a very intimate courtyard with some nice statuary. There's niches on each side of the entrance, one containing a statue of Calderón de la Barca, the Spanish poet and writer, flanked on the other side by Beethoven. And in the middle of the courtyard, a small bust of Chopin. Well, this church may not be the most important church per se in San Jose. There's the National Cathedral here, and of course there's the Metropolitan Cathedral. But in terms of architectural beauty, it may be the prettiest church in this city. It is of a very distinctive German Gothic design that makes it well worth a look if you're in the city. It's relatively small and unbusy on a beautiful plaza. The original church here was built in the 1800s, but I think an earthquake and fire pretty much destroyed it in the 1880s. San Jose procured this land for the rebuilt church in exchange for a property several blocks away in another district called La Merced, named for the church that is no longer there but here.
On this Sunday morning, the park across the street from the church is alive with the sounds of pop-up evangelism, a reminder of the changing religious landscape.
Nos vemos el próximo domingo, si Cristo no ha venido, 10 de la mañana. Dios le bendiga.
Well, just an indication of how things change. It's in a park outside a very grand and old Roman Catholic church, which, when I was over there just a few minutes ago, was practically empty. At one time, I think this could have been referred to in Latin America as a religious alternative. But it's much larger than that now, as the influence of the church, and I mean the Roman Catholic Church, has steadily declined here. People may still be Catholic in a nominal sense, but not necessarily devout anymore.
Ya soy más conocido en el mundo del dinero. Más conocido que Paraguay. Ahí vamos a ir a Alaska. Ya los vemos al Eclectic. Vamos a dar una foto a Paraguay.
That's an old-fashioned snow cone, a kind of nostalgic treat here. I've stepped into San Jose's Central Market, which has been a fixture here in the center of the city since 1880, all under one roof. which covers a large city block. And it seems redundant to say it, but you can buy almost anything here that you can buy in any store, which is one of the allures of these places. The other is just the social context. People come to central markets in Latin America the same way they do in old town markets in the Arab world, seemingly as much to socialize as to shop, or at least to eat. As those of you who have traveled in Latin America know, you can go from one environment to the other inside one of these markets, from a very busy, kind of pulsating corridor where people are shouting and bargaining, to more quiet streets. And that's kind of fun, especially on rainy afternoons at a place like this. Of course, it's not raining now. I'm just stepping outside a doorway to get my bearings on where I've just walked inside that market. I've come out on what's called Central Avenue, which is a main pedestrian corridor. I've stepped back inside because I just realized that I'd only been on one side of the market. I mentioned that people come here to eat, and this brings up something I wanted to share with you. In most places, if you hear the word soda, most Westerners think of a soft drink. But in this country, a soda has a completely different meaning. A soda is an informal restaurant where you find comida típica, that is just typical food of the region. And in Costa Rica, the places that sell those typical dishes are referred to as sodas. And if you're here, a soda is where you want to go to eat if you want something simple but hearty and typical of the country that is much less expensive than if you eat in regular restaurants, of which there are many. The one I'm standing in front of now that has a sign that says Soda Tala. And I'll just poke inside to let you get a sense of what it's like in here. You can select between chicken, pork, beef if you want. I noticed that most everyone was eating from a plate that was decorated with a banana leaf in the plate. Here's a nice display of the variety of empanadas you can find here. From the empanada de papa, of course has potatoes in it. Here's a cheese empanada de frijol con queso, beans and cheese. And a meat stuffed one, the empanada de carne. And you can just get a plain cheese empanada if you want. Empanada de queso. There are other kinds. You can do almost anything with an empanada, and people in this country do. So it kind of makes you wonder what would happen if you took food out of the equation. It just wouldn't be the same. In fact, I doubt very seriously that the long-established Latin American markets could exist without the food. Just the added bonus of coming to a place, they have something to eat, they meet their friends, and generally use it as just a central place to socialize. Costa Rica never had to fight for its independence, and it has Mexico's War of Independence, the War of 1821, to thank for that, because after Mexico gained its independence from Spain, the Spanish were in no real position to protect their properties in Central America. There was a civil war here early on. As a result of that, the new capital was established here, which really starts the clock on San Jose's importance to Costa Rican history. That brings me to something you probably heard about Costa Rica, and that is it's one of the few nations in the world that does not have a standing army. And that goes back to the aftermath of the country's second civil war in 1948, in which the then sitting president was ousted after unlawfully attempting to cling to power. A new constitution in 1949 abolished the army and redirected military spending to social welfare, primarily health and education. San Jose and Costa Rica generally has tended to depart from Spanish tradition and carve out its own identity. There's maybe no better symbol of that than Costa Rica's Legislative Assembly building, inaugurated in 2020.
If you're thinking ornate neoclassical Spanish, think again. Costa Rica chose the huge 18-story concrete cube that you see here.
The design was largely panned by the public, including some politicians, when it was put forward in 2015. One elected official famously described it as resembling one of the square trash cans common in the city's parks.
There's still tradition here, as in the 19th Century History Museum, a former army barracks. But San Jose's charm is its eclectic mix, from an homage to the country's workers to a statue honoring the German-born Jewish Holocaust victim Anne Frank. And there's a lot of improvisation, including the old International Airport, transformed as the city's largest public park, where today's art museum was yesterday's passenger terminal, hovered over by a remodeled control tower.